Guys, I'm just gonna cut to the chase here. I think Kris might lose their hand in Deltarune.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, welcome back, class, for another video. This one's gonna be a little bit different than the previous ones because the previous ones it's a lot of compiling a lot of information. Today we're gonna be talking about just one theory, and we're talking about specifically a theory that's grown in popularity a lot as of late, being Kris loses their hand theory. Now, I want to ask the class, you guys heard about this one at all?
No.
I've heard like hear it tell.
Okay, so yeah, this is one that has gotten very popular as of recent, and I want to make a video about it because there have been a couple videos I've seen that talk about just kind of like the broad strokes of like the evidence for it and whatnot. But I think something that not a lot of people have covered is what this could kind of mean for the game, and I'll get into that more later. But I've got a lot of stuff I want to say about this theory and potential interpretations that might branch off if it is actually true. So we're just going to go over all that today. Again, it's going to be a little bit of a short one. If you end up enjoying the video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. And if you have the means to and feel so inclined, there's also a Patreon where you could support us at.
Put like 500 of the hello neighbor like subscribe gif when you say like and subscribe.
Also, if you particularly like this piece of artwork, I actually drew this. This is my art. If you would like art in the vein of this or just art from me in general, I have a Ko-Fi page where you can commission me or just DM me on any of the socials that we have on the channel, and I would love to do it. So without further ado, you guys ready?
Yeah.
I guess.
Now I'm ready.
All right. Oh. Yeah. I just want to clarify before we get into it proper. The friend video is still gonna happen. I promise. It's just taking a really long time. So in the meantime, so you guys don't have to wait too long between uploads of videos. We're doing a little bit of a smaller one here. All right. Let's get serious, guys. So right now we're just gonna get into just the basic evidence for Kris loses their hand theory. This is a theory that has actually existed, I think, probably since like chapter 1. I've at least seen remember it existing all the way back then, but it's one that has gained a lot of popularity post the releases of chapter 3 and 4 because there's been a lot more evidence for it after these chapters. So let's just get into it like as the evidence came up. So the big first thing that kind of led to this idea in general is the Shadow Crystal dialogue from the chapter 1, which again, I'm sure you guys all are at least vaguely aware, where when you use a Shadow Crystal when not in the supply closet or whatever, when you're out in the light world in chapter 1, it says, you looked through the glass. For some strange reason, for a brief moment, you thought you saw through your hand. Now, I remember when we first got this piece of dialogue, we didn't really know as much about shadow crystals. So there was a lot left up to interpretation about what this could potentially mean, especially back then. Some people look at this, it's like, oh, maybe that means Kris died in an ice lake. But I think one of the
Wait, what's that theory?
Shut up. Again, this idea of Kris seeing through their hand lends credence to the idea, oh, maybe Kris loses their hand at some point in the future, especially with what we know about the shadow crystals as they are now, because it seems that I had like a whole thing where I was going to talk about like kind of what my interpretation of what the shadow crystals do, like what they show you, but I think it doesn't really matter too much for this, like whether or not it's like, oh, showing the future or showing the prophecy in some way. I think that's more likely it's showing something to do with the prophecy or something fated to happen to whatever you're looking through the crystal. But I think the important thing here is that this is clearly foreshadowing something that is going to happen in the future, at least in some way. So what this would mean under that interpretation is, oh, they're seeing through their hand because in the future, they're not going to have a hand. So that was the primary piece of evidence that really existed when we only had chapters 1 and 2, kind of. There's more stuff, we'll get into it, but this was this primary like smoking gun. So clearly something's going on here. But after the release of chapters 3 and 4, there is, like I said, a lot more information a lot more evidence rather, for this theory that kind of makes it hold water more and can recontextualize this. Because again, this is kind of vague, Kris seeing through their hand. So let's just get straight into that. So I think one of the biggest ones that we got is in the 1225 gumball room. Again, when you put the numbers 1225, the December holiday, into the gumball machine in chapter 3, it leads you to this room where you're walking around, and Kris goes into this blue gumball machine and gets a piece of like lacquer that's some sort of a black shard, if you will. Kris picks it up, and then the lacquer slips through their hand, and then it says, you couldn't find it. And then it is followed up by this statement, which is like the real big moment, where it says, you couldn't find your hand. So yeah, that's a very interesting little piece of dialogue we got here. This next one is actually pretty crazy. It's also something that I think we missed on our first playthrough of the game. It's in this scene when we're in the holiday house and we're in the basement and Susie and Noelle are talking here. They start talking about the noise that they hear from the basement, and then I'll explain why they start talking about that in a second. But I want to just establish that in this conversation they start talking about dragon blazers. Now, Dragon Blazers, as we know, is a parallel to Deltarune, both of them depicting the story of the prophecy, where it's, again, after you beat Gerson, Susie drops that, oh, Lord of the Hammer, that's what Dragon Blazers is based off of. So Dragon Blazers is based off of the story of Book of the Hammer, which is based off the prophecy, and the prophecy is just the story of Deltarune. Like all the 5 chapters, Queen's Chariot, Lord of Screens, all that fun jazz. Yeah. What happens in Dragon Blazers is ostensibly what happens in Deltarune, or we can assume that the stuff in Dragon Blazers is representative of stuff in the prophecy, which is stuff that we know is going to happen in Deltarune. And I say all this because we get this pretty crazy line of dialogue where Susie mentions that one day the protagonist of Dragon Blazers wakes up without a hand. Now, again, Dragon Blazers based off of the Deltarune. So the protagonist of Dragon Blazers loses their hand in the story of the game. And then, fun fact, in the story of Deltarune the Prophecy, the game we play, there's a protagonist. Their name's Kris.
Really?
And I would have to assume, again, because we know that the characters are also similar, whereas Susie talks about the heroes and the dragon and all that from Lord of the Hammer, which is prophecy, prophecy all the way down. So, assumedly, again, this protagonist character is the hero equivalent to Kris. So yeah, the protagonist of Dragon Blazers, the game based off the prophecy, loses their hand, which I think could then, through transitive property, mean Kris, the protagonist of Deltarune the game, which is depicting the prophecy, might also lose their hand. Again, I remember first seeing this, I was like, because I hadn't seen this line of dialogue, and I saw that, I was like, because if not for saying that, oh, Kris might lose their hand in the future, it's like, why is this dialogue here?
Yeah.
And then also for the rest of this scene, Susie proceeds to refer to the soul that we're playing as the severed hand from the game.
Holy shit.
For the rest of the scene. So just keep on pushing this imagery of a severed hand,
Don't worry, Kris. I'll let them take my hand.
It's like you put it through the screen.
We're in this together, Kris. Me and you.
Okay, so that is actually all of the super, I think, hard evidence for Kris loses their hand theory, where the specific piece of evidence where I'm like, okay, this seems clearly like painting a picture. Now, the rest of it is more so small dialogue things that I feel like could be hinting towards it, and a few crack stuff that we're going to get into, but let's just talk about that. So, I think one of the other lines of dialogue that really stands out to me under the lens of Kris potentially losing their hand in the future is the dialogue that after you defeat Queen, where she says that, oh, you defeated me, but I still possess one thing you 3 will never have. Detachable hands. Which is one of those things, it feels like a very, we're going to talk about more examples of this later, but it's a very tobyfox thing where I think a lot of potential evidence for Kris losing their hand is a lot of innocuous dialogue that you wouldn't think anything of without the context, but once you do have it in context in the future, you go back and you're like, ooh, It's like one of those things where it's like, oh, it's like, when you call Sans, when you're at Alphys' lab, they mention that there's dog food in there, and Papyrus is like, oh, do you think there's dogs in there? And then Sans is like, who's to say, maybe? Which that line of dialogue means nothing to you when you first read it, but then when you know, oh, there's a Lovecraftian dog monster in the basement there, it's like, oh, it recontextualizes it. And I feel like Toby loves doing that sort of thing in his writing. So I think, again, this is one of those lines of dialogue that will be recontextualized as oh, Queen, you don't know, they will eventually possess a detachable hand, Okay, so this one is insane. I want to give credit for this.
Yeah, this one's fucking crazy.
I think this specific, I guess, piece of evidence theory or whatever that towards Kris losing their hand was found by Nutella Teen on Reddit, I believe. Okay, so full shouts out to them because I'm not operating at Matt's brain power to have thought of something as insane as this. So. Christopher Torgore Dreamer. Whenever you're playing the game show stuff with Tenna in Chapter 3, you get to put in a 3-letter name. Now, I think if you just leave it, or automatically in the files, if you don't put a name, the name that it automatically puts for you is KRS, which is the abbreviation that they use for Kris. Assumingly that Kris put, but regardless, that is the abbreviation that's used here. So, if you spell Kris in Wingdings, actually, I'm going to zoom in here real quick so you guys can get a better look. So, when you spell Kris in specifically uppercase Wingdings, which is the ones that Gaster uses, that's an important distinction. It is these specific symbols. It's funny, the blank face. So, Kris is spelled in Wingdings like this. Now, KRS, the abbreviation for Kris in Wingdings, is spelled this. It is literally the word Kris without the hand.
Oh my god.
How are they gonna talk in hands?
They
So,
won't.
yeah, I don't really have much to add here. I think it's just like one of those things where it's like, do I think this is intentional?
What do you think it could mean?
I think it might mean that Kris is gonna lose their hand. If
What?
only there were like 3 slides before this that maybe like said something about that. I don't know.
It's one of those things where it's like, even if it is a coincidence, I think in hindsight it's going to be one of those things. If Kris does lose her hand, it's going to be like, Toby Fox is a prophet. He thought all of it out. I think also it's important to mention that. Do you guys know who the person who made Wingdings is? Or I think co-made Wingdings.
Oh, it's like Kris something, right?
I forget their last name, but their first name is Kris,
Oh
which is
my
a funny thing
God.
to bring up. And I think I've always been kind of a little adverse to theory crafting based off of like certain words in Wingdings. Like in the whole theory that it's like if you write egg in Wingdings, it's like up and then side, which is the moves of a knight piece, so which is means Gaster's the knight. Like I think it's like one of those things where it's like it feels like
That's
a bit of
crazy,
a.
though. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
It's just like I kind of doubt that Toby would think this far ahead. But then again, I think about like the whole like Asriel's name and how insane that is. Someone made a flow chart of how Asriel's name works. It's like, okay, Asriel is the combination of Asgore and Toriel, which in and of itself, Toriel is a like portmanteau of the word tutorial.
Mhm.
So that's already like a name there put into the Asriel name. But then we also know that Asriel wasn't the first name that was thought of, because Asriel is named after Ralsei, who's originally called Ralse. Or no, Ralse was a character in a like a Game Maker game that Toby Fox's brother made when they were kids.
What the?
And their
Yeah,
dog.
wait, do you guys know about this?
No.
Okay.
I know most of the.
So do a little tangent here. So Toby Fox's brother, when they were kids, made a game. Now in the game, there was a character who was a representation of Toby, like Toby's older brother's brother in the game, and their name was Ralse, Ralse. And that Toby explicitly says that went on to inspire the name of Ralsei in Deltarune. So we know that the name of Ralsei, at least in this Ralse form, came before Asriel.
Holy crap.
Even though Asriel is an anagram of this other name that came before it. And that other name happens to be the separated versions of both of their names, which in and of itself also have, like, again, puns in it. So how did he separate the
And
names
it's
and also keep the puns there? And then also Asriel, obviously like
Older.
Asriel, like the angel of death, and then also like Asriel, like a Toho character, I think inspired certain stuff. Asriel. Like it is insane. Just like I like legitimately, I think if I got to ask Toby Fox like a question, I would want to. I'd ask them what's going on with Kara first. That'd be I got priorities here. I want answers with that. But also I just like I want to know like what was like the first thing that it came up, and how did was this all just like coincidences and stuff? So that's why I'm saying is like considering all that garbage, I wouldn't put this past him. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's just like looking at it, it's just like, oh man.
You said the Ross was based off like the older brother, right?
It was based off of Toby himself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
My
which
bad.
then is also interesting because then it's like, oh, now we have like that the character Ralse turned into Ralsei, who is like, you know, obviously looks and represents in a certain way Chris's older brother.
Yeah.
But no, Asriel and Ralsei have nothing to do with each other whatsoever.
Yeah, no.
They just happen to look exactly like each other.
Yeah, and be anagrams of each other's names, and like it's.
We're focused on Kris today.
Yeah, obviously Ralsei is their own person. Like he's not literally Asriel, you know. But I think the kind of people who try and say like, oh, nothing about Asriel matters in referring to Ralsei is like, no, there's clearly something going there, you know. But yeah, sorry for that tangent about Ralse, whatever. But yeah, this is crazy. I think this is when I saw this piece of evidence. I think I saw it, someone reposting it on Twitter, the initial Reddit post. That's when I was kind of like, I kind of want to make this video because it's just so much like interesting, like little stuff.
Mhm.
And speaking of stuff like that, also, Kris biting their hand on the weird route. Just as a little bit of a refresher, again, when you're on the weird route, you have the option to make Kris say that they'll never play piano again. Now, normally, I think they just kind of like dodge the question or like mumble it or whatever. They don't actually say it. On the weird route, Kris assumedly gets very, very upset by us making them say that. And then Susie says that apparently Kris like bit the hell out of their hand, which again, more hand imagery. I think I'll just leave it at that for now because we're gonna talk. We're gonna go back to some of the stuff we talked about a little bit later. But I think just this imagery of Kris biting off or biting their own hand.
I got nothing left.
It's like SpongeBob like eating the
Yeah.
hands out of the popcorn bucket. See, I think this imagery of Kris biting their own hand again, while it's not Kris physically losing their hand, I think it's wrapped up in all this other imagery. It's where I think it is relevant to talk about Kris losing their hand. And clearly something happening to their hand. Okay, and this last bit is just, we're going to talk about more just kind of innocuous dialogue. Some of this I'm not sure if it necessarily does mean stuff, but I think the rest of the stuff that I'm about to talk about in this slide are all stuff where it's like, if the theory is true, it will recontextualize these lines in a way where it's like, oh, where it's like, I think one of the big ones is that when you're on the Azet Tunnel of Love, whenever you're doing the stupid mouse puzzle, I still don't really remember how to do, to get like to move these like hand things, so you can get the boat going. There's this fun line of dialogue where it says, looks like the hand is out of the way now," which is like, I feel like I particularly put that on the slide here because I think it feels like, I don't know how to describe it, but it feels like kind of weird wording to say what's going on here. It's like, looks like the hand is out of the way now. I don't know, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I think if it ends up being true down the line, we're going to look back at those lines like, tugging on your colors, you know?
Yeah.
And then these last two were ones I kind of added last minute because I saw them and I was like, does this mean anything? I don't know, but I want to just throw it in there for just like completionist sake. So when Susie's talking about how it's like, oh, you know, you'll never win because I've got the power of friendship on my side, Susie specifically says, as long as Kris still has a hand to lift me up with. Which again,
Susie, you got me cooked. Saying that. I was gonna keep both my hands, and then you had to say something like that. Now I got nothing.
Yeah, again, it kind of goes into the detachable hands line, where it's one of those things where it's like, it'll be again, it's just like a tugging at your collar kind of moment, like if it ends up being true. So,
I was gonna say, you think that shower would be just underwhelming? We wake up and it's like, oh, I don't have my hand anymore, and that's it.
I fell off. Damn it.
Oh
the
well.
protagonist woke up
Exactly.
without their hand.
Sans took it.
Anybody who using this?
Like a back scratcher.
Okay, and the last one here is the song when Gerson shows up to negative the Titan efficacy. Is a song called "Need a Hand," which Kris might in the future.
I might need a hand.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the next slide now, and I just want to warn you guys that there's gonna be some potentially disturbing imagery. So try your best not to scream at the top of your lungs and get incredibly scared and shit your pants. Are you guys okay?
I don't know about the shit in my pants part. I might
I
anyway.
might start farting, bro.
A little bit of the bubble gum.
Yeah, a little bit.
Let's get this farty sharded.
Oh my god.
Let's get this farty sharded. Okay, so now
That's it. Wait, that's it.
The video is over.
Okay, so that is pretty much all the evidence there is for Kris loses their hand theory, which is it's pretty like, there's not a lot of like stuff for it, but there's enough there to be like, okay, this clearly there's something going on here, but it's something that I think otherwise it's like it doesn't necessitate its own video, you know, because it's like the evidence is pretty clear cut there, and there's not too much to go over. But again, one thing I wanted to cover with this video is kind of what Kris losing their hand could potentially mean for the future of this story, and specifically like the thematic relevance of Kris losing their hand, because this is something is other than like the Wingdings thing, which is just like, that was just funny. This is the real reason like that made me like, okay, I want to make this video, because I had so many like ideas of what this could like mean. Like I think it goes beyond just like, oh, this could be something that happens. So I just wanted to talk about like all the different like ways I think you can interpret what Kris losing their hand will mean. This isn't like one consistent like, okay, this is my like theory, like, oh, what this means. It's more so just like a bunch of different interpretations that just popped up just for me, like running like all the stuff we knew through my brain and thinking about what it could mean. And there are some like new pieces of like, not evidence, but like additional talking points and discussing things we already talked about. And like, and this is basically me just going my video essay mode. It's like, okay, let me talk about what I think of this.
Yeah.
Because I just find it really interesting. So just starting here, like I was saying, hand imagery is a very distinct thing in Deltarune, particularly when it talks about making dark fountains. Like we, again, reaching its long hand into the sky. A lot of imagery with the knight involves their hand, specifically with making dark fountains, like, oh, the shadow of the knight's hand, like their long hand, this, that, the other thing. So hands are important in this whole kind of like creating dark fountains, like just in the imagery of that. The creation of dark fountains in general can kind of be inferred to like symbolically represent like creating fiction in a way. Again, like, oh, you, like what you're literally doing is, you know, stabbing the earth, pillar of darkness comes out, but what it kind of represents thematically is, again, you're making a dark world, you are making this fiction within fiction. But more important than that, it just represents creating fiction. So I feel like Kris losing their hand and thus disconnecting themselves from this imagery of creating a dark world could essentially kind of represent them losing the ability or the will to create stuff. Because also another notable thing is that if Kris were to lose their hand, it would also make them unable to play piano, which is like the primary creative outlet that Kris has, which could further kind of represent this like loss of individuality they get through losing their hand, and like what makes them themselves through their ability to create things. Like in general, I have here like through losing their hand and losing their ability to create, both symbolically through dark fountains, and also like literally through being able to make music by playing the piano, they no longer have the ability to express themselves. In a way, they lose the I in Kris.
I didn't know it was about to pop up like that.
That shit was crazy. Was that not fucking crazy though?
This is one of those
This
things where it's like,
is the Kris edit now.
I think I kept on going like, oh, this is the moment. I think I was like literally like kind of like going through my notes, like writing out like what I thought, and I kind of thought about, oh, they're literally losing the I. I was like, I gotta talk about this.
Blackbeard like writing like.
So for the people in the back who didn't get it, again, I the letter I in capital Wingdings is a hand. So it's just like.
Go like flicker.
So it's like by Kris losing their hand, they're thematically losing their individuality, their will to create. So they are literally losing a part of themselves. They're losing the I. They're losing the I in Kris. They're losing the hand, the Kris. Very eloquently put. Okay, and I think also Kris losing their hand could be a reflection of Toby himself and his hand problems that he's had, which creates issues with him being able to make art. Like he talks about in this newsletter here, this has been a thing for tobyfox for a while. He's had like hand pains and like issues with his hand. He talks about how he suffered wrist and hand pain, and about 5 months ago when this was written, it was the worst it's ever been. And he specifically says like I couldn't play piano, use mouse, could barely use a keyboard. So this I think maybe could be the inspiration of why this is happening with Kris. That like Toby is taking this real life. Oh, he like damaged his hand in a really bad way, and thus that negated him from being able to create, like you know, his like creative passions and stuff. So that is represented in Kris, but Kris like to the extreme, like losing their hand completely, and thus both like thematically and physically losing the ability to create. Okay, next slide. So this slide has a lot to do with talking about the Kris biting their hand in the weird route, because I think what that scene could kind of mean is I think it's kind of maybe like a microcosm or just like foreshadowing of a future event that will happen on the weird route, where it's like in this moment we're telling Kris to do something they really don't want to do, so they bite their hand to stop us from making them do that. So I think in the future, as a way of like sort of paralleling this scene, but in a more severe way, instead of you know, saying this is gonna be something that Kris really doesn't want to do, and it goes as extreme as like, okay, Kris cuts off their own hand to stop us from making them do something, which again would have been foreshadowed in the scene where it's like showing like, oh, Kris is, if they really don't want to do something, they will go through extreme things like make their like hand bleed and like bite themselves to stop them. So again, like I'm saying, I think it's like this sort of like little like microcosm of what a future event might be. Also, just talking about that here, I just want to say there's just some really cool art, so I wanted to have it here to represent sort of the scene.
I like the as Metaton plush.
Oh yeah, this art was made by Metaton Plush on Twitter right there. They have a bunch of other really cool art. I suggest checking it out. And then also talking more about Kris losing their hand. What I guess. I think there's also room for interpretation that Kris losing their hand maybe isn't a literal thing that will happen in the story, and it's more so a metaphor for us, the player, being separated from Kris. Like we are essentially Kris's like hand being their ability to make choices and whatnot. Again, like the thematic idea of a hand being their like will and ability to do something, and we are taking that over as Kris's hand, you know, forcing their hand into doing stuff. And as alluded to by the soul itself being referred to as a severed hand by Susie, I think what this could potentially mean, if we don't want Kris literally losing their hand, is at some point in the story our connection to Kris will be severed, like how the protagonist's hand in Dragon Blazers is severed, because the soul itself is referred to as a severed hand. And I think using that wording for it, having it be referred to as that a lot, I think there's relevance to that. Mm-hmm. So this is the interpretation if we don't want to go with the awesome Kris loses their hand and gets a gaster hand or whatever. I think this is another interpretation of the theory where it's not as literal, but it still takes all the evidence and like sort of reshuffles it into something else. Mm-hmm. That I think is also thematically relevant with the rest of stuff going on. Okay, and then now I want to talk a bit about the prophecy. So the prophecy depicting the first hero, which assumably depicts Kris, at least in the story that we're following currently, because of considering how vague it does seem to also potentially apply to the vessel. But Kris is obviously, at least in the story we're following right now, is the first hero in the prophecy. The cage with human soul and parts, which is obviously a kind of interesting wording. But notably, these parts that are depicted in the prophecy depicting Kris is just the heart and a pair of hands. So I think again, hands being an important thing with Kris. I think especially if Kris losing their hand is in some way self-inflicted or done like willingly, like they let losing their hand happen in some way, it could be like a like sort of literal brutal way of representing like us subverting the prophecy. Like one of the only things we know about the first hero, who's Kris, is that as depicted in the prophecy, they've got two hands. So by Kris losing their hand, it is a representation of again like subverting, denying the prophecy, because now the first hero only has one hand. So I found that interesting because I think a lot of the interpretations of what Kris losing their hand could mean is a lot of obviously sad stuff, you know, where it's like it represents a bad thing happening. But I think this, again, if they go down this route, it could be in a way, again, like representing this sort of like in the same way like Susie subverts the prophecy by like not wearing like the bows and stuff, or like it could be like a sort of brutal way of like being like, no, we're not, the prophecy is not something that we're going to adhere to. Now I think also if we're going under the interpretation that Kris severs their hand themselves, I think this also could play into an interesting little tidbit of dialogue we got in the chapter 4 egg room, if you don't remember, the one where it's in the like the therapist's office where they're doing art therapy, where there's a part where whenever you go to the sink, it says, it's a sink, you ran water over your hands and dried them. Between your fingers, a faint gray crease glittered stubbornly. You can never wash it all away. Now, I think it's an interesting piece of dialogue. I think at least here it's clearly depicting, you know, the whole you can never wash it all away. Like it's like washing away guilt, like being able to wash away guilt. And Kris is saying that they can't physically wash away all that guilt that for something that did in the past. I have sort of ideas of what that could potentially be, which we'll talk about probably in a Kris video, like way down the line. Episode like ERAM and stuff, like whether or not it's something maybe we're gonna have with deaths or maybe some violent stuff they did in the past, which is kind of implied by some of the stuff we get in chapters 3 and 4. Kris has some sort of guilt that they're harboring that is represented by the gray crease, something to do with goners. I don't want to unpack that yet, but that they can't wash all away. So again, if Kris cuts off their hand themselves or severs their hand in some way themselves, it could be like represent them like thematically, like cutting off their own like trauma and guilt. Like they're not able to wash it away, so they need to go to this extreme measure of cutting off their own hand or like losing their hand as a way of accepting and moving on from whatever guilt that they're still holding that they can't just wash away normally. So again, that's also it's kind of like brutal like the last one, but it is representing something that's less like tragic for the character. It's obviously tragic what's happening, but thematically it represents a sort of like freeing themselves from whatever guilt that they have. So so yeah, that's all of my interpretations of what I think Kris losing their hand can mean. Do you guys have any like input on any of this?
It's crazy.
I wanted to say when like a couple slides ago when you were talking about hand imagery, I immediately thought about like the Guardian's hand popping out of the pillar.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, wait, that's true.
But yeah, so that's actually not all that straight information we have. I just wanted to, you know, section stuff off where I felt like it made sense, where I felt like I talking about all the information, like doing some sort of, I guess, like media analysis stuff I wanted to do here. But there was some stuff that I have not talked about yet that I think is important to talk about. Let's get into it. So let's talk about Torgore. Now, I'm sure you guys are, you guys all played Undertale, so you guys obviously, like, you know what we're talking about. But just in case anyone in the audience doesn't know. So in Undertale, when you talk to Torgore in the MTT resort, you know, in this place here, he gives you a VHS tape, which can be put into the TV in the True Lab. You know, where you have the other tapes with like Toriel, Asgore, Kara, Asriel, stuff like that. So Torgore gives you this tape that you can put in the TV on the True Past Ascending. In the tape, we can hear Torgore, and who we can assume is Chester Holiday, considering, you know, they're friends in Undertale, and also Deltarune. But we can hear them talk about their plans to saw off the hand of the next human that falls down. Again, like I didn't put all of it because again, I assume you guys all know it since we've all played like Undertale. But we have the lines from like assumedly Chester's like, what do you say, Torgore? Let's give him the old holiday family welcome. So yeah, this is a line that's always stood out to me in Undertale because we didn't really have a lot of context for it within the game itself. But I think through the context of Deltarune, especially with all the other stuff about Kris losing their hand, I think this definitely it seems to connect to all that. So weirdly enough, actually in Undertale, by putting in this VHS, it also allows you to gain access to another tape, which is assumedly in line with all the other Asriel and Kara ones, where Kara ends up in-depth describing the nuances of how they still like chocolate, as they explicitly display on multiple occasions, despite pie being their favorite food. And then also actually later in the tape, they mention Asriel asking Kara what their 5-year plan is, and they say that they will turn yellow and die in an ice lake. I feel like all this dialogue has no significance.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, red herrings.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like it's a green herring this time.
It might be blue.
I don't know.
I would
Green
argue.
blue?
I figure green would make sense because that is Togore's favorite color.
Yeah, he did say that.
But yeah, so that's everything with Torgore in Undertale. Again, not as super important as I think the rest of the stuff, but it is. I think it adds extra credibility to the theory.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, that is the pretty much all of the primary information that has to do with Kris loses their hand theory. But I wanted to add a little extra bit here because again, I'm just gonna add on to the pile of this is actually the reason why I want to do the video is that I think what interests me so much about Kris loses their hand theory is how much people ran with it. Like I remember this kind of like again, it was always a theory that existed, but it wasn't like it didn't have too much like it didn't like catch fire the way it has now. And what I love so much about it is it's made so much just like cool like art, like people making just so much like cool stuff for this theory. For again, it's like they're making fan art for a theory of a game, not even the game itself, you know. And so I kind of want to just like spotlight just a lot of just the really cool stuff people have been creating. Again, I have here's particularly I found this artist on TikTok, like Al
Alunic.
Yeah. They have a bunch of really cool art. Again, they have all of these concept art of Kris with a sort of a prosthetic like metal hand. Really awesome stuff. I highly suggest checking them out. It was also I think I found them on like Google image search, and I spent like forever trying to like track down their accounts because for some reason TikTok doesn't let you go straight to the like thing you're like it's annoying. But
once again, Al Alunic on TikTok.
yeah, amazing art, very good. But yeah, so we're not gonna like go through each piece of art like individually here. I just have a bunch of slides, just some of my like favorite art that we've seen. A lot of this is mostly just Kris about losing their hand. You're gonna tell that these kind of arts have a sort of there's an overarching theme. You'll see with the next one, but just a lot of really cool like art. I especially really like the one all the way to the right that was based on specifically when Twitter caught the whole like Wingdings thing. Where it's like, again like Kris losing their hand and the hand in red, which was like this art in particular was a big inspiration for me when I made the art that I have for the thumbnail of the video and also in the first slide. Yeah, just a bunch of really cool stuff. Oh, actually, one thing I want to mention here, another just talking about just creator stuff. This little piece of art of Susie and Kris playing piano together. That reminds me, a video made by Spooky Dude, if you guys will remember, the pioneer of Woody theory, the guy who created that. I think he, in like a video, briefly talked about Kris losing their hand, and they said that if this theory is true, that they feel like the ending of Deltarune will essentially be Kris and Susie playing a duet on piano together, where it's like Susie helping Kris play piano. And I just found like that's it was just a really awesome idea that I wanted to include it in this video because like that's just such a cool, and I feel like it would just like it would fit so well into the themes and Susie's character and stuff like that. It was really cool, so I wanted to mention it. And it's that sort of idea is also depicted here. More, you know, Kris playing piano, Kris losing their hand. This one is super cool.
Yeah,
I really love that one. But yeah, and then next slide. So this is the other genre of Kris loses their hand, where this was popularized by someone we'll get to. But basically the idea of what if Kris gets a cool, awesome Gaster hand. And I'm a very big proponent of this because it looks so cool. Like, I love this one in particular where it looks very like Akira.
Yeah.
Like, and just, it's just so cool, man. I don't know what to say.
I would cut off my arm if I could get some shit like this.
Yeah, bro. It's like those images where it's like, oh, like with someone who like loses their arm and it's like science versus religion and it's like both Nero where it's like when he has the middle arm, one with like the
yeah.
I also really like this one. I feel like mimics Temmie's like art like a lot, particularly just like the waviness of like the Gaster goo, just like
the Glaster gloop.
It's just again. I feel like
this might be awesome.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know how to articulate it other than just showing you guys and going, "That's so cool," you know.
And
then
black out all their ads. I made all this art.
Yeah.
Go for it.
What's it called? I highly suggest checking out like pretty much all the artists I have here. Like I've looked through like all their stuff. It's super cool. And there's the last slide we have here, just more Gaster hand stuff. It's just cool, man. I don't know what to say.
It's actually lame. I think every character in Deltarune should just die, and then like the game just ends, and we don't get chapters 6 and 7, and the fucking game gets refunded, and I don't have to play this bullshit no more. So I don't have to keep coming here and recording fucking stupid shit. Like
You should come off and like start the next one just like. Anyway.
I love you too, Dale. Just super cool. It's just cool. I don't know what to say. I felt as if your arm was roaring. That's raw. That's cool. I like how this one particularly it's got like the shadow mantle and it's doing like the like sword swipe that the knight does.
Mhm.
I hate
Again,
that
I
fucking
think
swipe.
What?
I hate that fucking swipe.
Yeah.
It's not that cool.
That swipe that I hate.
that swipe that I hate.
I mean, that thing got me killed like 3 million times, bro.
Yeah. I think also just like a lot of this kind of like making Kris more like the knight in some way, like getting like a sword like the knight does and gaster hands like the knight does.
That'd be pretty awesome.
It would be awesome. But speaking of awesome, we have one more thing I want to show you guys, which is a really cool interpretation of Kris
we
losing
watched
her.
that.
We did watch this. So this is a little fan animation that somebody made for just like a potential way that Kris losing her hand might happen in the story. And I want to show it to you guys. But before we do it, I want to preface. Do you guys want to know who this is?
Who?
This is Eventube. You know, like the kids' toy review channel.
Oh,
You're
What?
fucking
Yeah, well,
joking.
he makes Deltarune stuff.
that's tough.
Like he's apparently, it seems like a big fan, and he has like a few like fan animations of like Deltarune stuff. Dude, this one is really cool. There's one in particular where it's a take of like the bunker, and it like looks like the True Lab, and then they basically they have like a big determination extractor, and they put Kris into it to try and separate like the soul and Kris, and it's like the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life. And I was just like, this is Eventube. It's just awesome. Like I think this is one thing that also I think at some point like Twitter just like found it, and it was just like people were talking like, wait, this is that guy? Like, very cool. But yeah, let's watch this. It's this one, it's kind of like just like a bunch of like specific images, but the other one I was talking about was like a full like animation. It was really cool.
Damn.
I forgot they used the song called Star, which is unused in Undertale, which is it's just really cool. I just want to mention that. I love Star.
Ouch!
They're asking to revive this.
That'll be fine. Oh my god!
That shit had to hurt.
You're locked.
Also, this is the thing I was talking about.
Yo, I'm dumb as far as like, bro, spoilers. I'm like, oh wait.
Friends
What
here.
the? Yo, when this happened, that was crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, this one I left early.
Oh yeah, and then it like starts like from the beginning again. Like you make a new like vessel or what? It just some awesome stuff. So yeah, that was really raw. I just want to show that because it's very cool. And then I want to just basically establish that okay, the whole like guys, the tale of hell, it's taken crawl.
There it is. This is
Guys, if you came down
Image
here
friend.
and you saw my dog and it had pink and yellow eyes and a big toothy smile, what would you do?
I would have ran the hell away.
I'm gone, bruh.
I would have fallen for the bait.
See,
Actually, no, I would come down here because then maybe I could get a hand like that.
Yeah, I've also seen a lot of people say the idea, like an idea where it's like, oh, in that interpretation, it was Susie biting off Chris's hand. A lot of people are like, what if a friend does that with his big old teeth? Like, I can see that happening. But I just want to say, it's like this whole like gaster hand thing. That was Evantube's idea, and these are some sprites like
Yeah,
the sprites like that they made for it.
I like the middle finger one.
Yeah, I just saw that. That's actually really funny.
So this whole gaster hand idea was popularized by them, and I think that's really cool.
That's very awesome, EvanTube. If you watch this video,
Don't like and subscribe.
Oh.
no, what?
Oh, I'm sorry. I
You
thought
watch
that-
this. I like your stuff. You're
You
cool.
made some really cool stuff.
Yeah, again, he has like a bunch of other like really cool like Deltarune stuff. I highly suggest checking it out.
I'll get internet again just to look at it.
You don't have.
No, I live in a cave, bro. I fly out here in like my Iron Man Mark 1 suit I made in a cave.
You just like
That's the only form of technology I have.
the way you play Deltarune is you just like chisel like
Yeah, I like chisel the sprites.
Well, that's why he had to come over here to play it.
Yeah,
'cause-
Yeah. What the?
Oh yeah, this is I added this today because I think I was just like, as I do on occasion. I was scrolling through Twitter and I think I saw like a tier list or something, and it was like a tier list of like knight candidates. It was before the chapter came out, and the top one was this guy, and then I was like, I looked at him and I was like, that's funny, and then my eyes like dilated. I was like, wait a second. So yeah, if you guys can't tell based on it might be a little hard to see. I don't Mr. Cattenheimer. I don't think we know his first name, but
Yeah.
the dad of Caddy
Let's say it's Paul.
and Caddy. I was
He's
gonna
putting
say,
on cartoon fish bones on the grill.
yeah.
Mhm.
Cartoon fishbone for all the girls. We are feminists.
That was like the funniest shit ever, bro.
Jacob, you voicing all the Cattenheimer family was so funny, bro.
Thank you.
So yeah, I noticed something about Mr. Cattenheimer here. It said he doesn't have an arm.
Oh.
He has phantom pain because I have phantom pain. But before we gloss over that real quick, I'm sorry whoever made the comic, but I wish I could remember your like anything about the post. But someone made a comic about like essentially like the Kris lose their hand theory, where it was actually like him going to Toriel and just being like, oh like like a couple days ago, like Kris like asked me like what it felt like when I woke up without without my hand, like, and it was a really good like comic, read like
That,
kind of like about like Kris loses their hand.
yeah, that's also really awesome. I'm
Yeah.
gonna maybe do some internet sleuthing, see if I can find that, because that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But like unfortunately, I was in like a few state when I saw it, so I don't remember the username. Like I don't even remember where I saw it.
if I find it, I'll put it up on screen, and if not,
If you somehow watch this video, that comic is really good.
Mr. Brick and Co fans, I have a challenge for you.
Yeah. Find that guy and bring him before us so we can flog him. Them, because I don't want to assume.
We'll flog them with kindness.
Yeah, basically. Flog them with awesomeness because that comic was actually awesome.
What?
Nothing.
And on that happy note.
Oh shit.
Oh! Guys, we're running out of letters. So yeah, that is
Patreon
it.
time.
Yo, you greedy ass bastard. Wait, bro.
Did I hear the lovely patrons? I can't wait to name each and every one of them.
Devil fingers.
Hey guys, I don't have a face now. So Dalen,
Where'd it go?
we've been passing around the who does the Patreon credits, and now it's Dalen's turn. So Dalen, you want to tell us? Well, on the screen now is all of our lovely patrons, and for those who paid in the $5 honor student tier, Dalen, can you tell us all those names?
So, to start ourselves off, we have Toby Tricky Fox. Next is Dick Chocolate.
Oh yeah.
Classic.
Third is Chaos Beam.
Mm-hmm.
After that is Semantic Pedantic.
Oh yeah.
After that is Riley Swab. After that is Spicy Bloke. Then there's Cat on Mars. And then after that, easier name than John Luca.
What?
Back John Luca. And I read it right. They changed their name, I guess.
Easier name than Jean-Luc.
Yeah, that's why I repeated because after Jean-Luca is Admin Access. After that, Rocco. Then Dusty
Rocco
Plush.
underscore.
Oh, yeah, Rocco underscore. Sorry.
Just in case. That's fine.
Rocco underscore, and then Dusty Plush. Then there's Lundcraft, and last is Jorts Master.
And also John Roberts 659, who joined in the middle of the night as I was editing this. All right, next up we have the $10 Overachiever tier.
Yay!
Dalen, take it away.
First, you know them, you love them, Blender Fucker.
Yeah.
And then there's Rat Avenue.
I went down that street once.
After that is Coca-Cola. And then last but not least, Adam Sandler.
And then next up, we have the Overachiever Plus tier for $19.97, the Spampton number. Dalen, who's in that tier?
Jesus and Willow Wispy.
Yeah, boy.
That leaves only 2 names left in the $50 Teacher's Pet tier.
Yay!
There are 2 people. And as is tradition for them, Josh, who are the 2 people in the $50 Teacher's Pet tier?
Isaac! Adam Sandler! Tommy! Fitzu!
So yeah, with the Patreon shoutouts out of the way, I think that is it for the video, unless any objections from the co.
Overruled.
More
The
like,
Two-Face.
Yeah.
more like overcooled.
No, not that one.
I like regular show. Do you like regular show, Anthony?
Shut the fuck up.
So let's get into it. So let's talk about Torgore. Okay, so
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I think
Torgore from Undertale.
you get all your laughs out, and then we're gonna cut back and we're gonna take this seriously.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Because I feel like that'd be funny.
Yeah, that's hard.
Thank you.
Holy shit. Okay.
Go back to the last slide and then come to this one.
Alright.
We gotta get clean cut the same down.
Okay, here Torgore, and who we can probably assume is Chester Holiday, considering they're friends. We can hear them talking about their plans.
Stop fucking laughing, bro. God damn it.
This was me.
This guy's like,
It's funny, dickhead.
we're not supposed to fucking laugh.
Okay, so
Oh my god, bro.
I think I'll include all the us like laughing and stuff. That's the case like at the end of the video.
I close my eyes like speed, bro. Oh my god. Alright.
Alright,
See,
go for it.
we can hear them talk about their plans to saw off the hand of the next human that falls down when reading it. And I think it didn't make as much.
I was trying to hold it together when I hear their plan to saw off the hand of the next human. I didn't read that. I've been looking at the screen, but I didn't read that part. So just hearing you say it, it's like, what the fuck? I couldn't hold it together. Bro. Just how casual, like their plan to saw off their hand. Like Jesus Christ.
Recording. Everyone's there.
Yeah,
Yep,
we're good.
yep.
Okay.
Alright.
Oh.
So so yeah, this is a line that I always.
Damn, we can't even get back into
I
it.
can't blame him. I can't blame him.
Bro.
Okay.
Undertale.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a line.
Okay.
This definitely, it seems to connect to all that.
I read the next one. Yeah.
Give him a voice. Give him a voice.
Kara ends up in depth describing the nuances of how they still like chocolate, as they explicitly display on multiple occasions, despite pie being their favorite food. And then also actually later in the tape, they mention Asriel asks Kara what their 5-year plan is, and they respond by saying, "I will turn yellow and die into an ice lake." I need to read that again. We'll die into an ice lake. So I'll take a breather for a second.
Holy shit,
And I read the second one and it was like fucking like despite the nuance of like they also like that shit felt like so like fucking like
I want to clarify. I think I was like again like writing like the rest of like the slides and stuff. I wrote that like in the middle of the night, like at 3 a.m. where I was like, you know,
that shit was like pure like hatred coming out.
it was just like in like a fugue state. I think I had some other bits I was gonna add
These
here, but it's like,
fucking stupid ass idiots who don't fucking think that.
okay.